All right, is it time for part two? I think it is time for part two. And the microphones are on. We're talking, and everything's going well. Hey, how are you guys out there? Did you miss me? Some of you miss me. Some of you have to listen to this backwards because of your player setting. And you know what? That's not my fault, and I can't change your player setting.
And some of them listen to the bonus hour first.
That is true.
Because it is the most awesome of the three.
I forgot about that. Yeah, we've had people send us in email messages telling us that they listen to the bonus hour first every week, and then they listen to the public hour stuff. So, and you're like, well, what's this bonus hour thing all about? Well, I don't know. What is it all about? Maybe you should find out. Maybe. It's big boy time. But we're not going to talk about big boy time right now. We're going to talk about, did you see what I put in the notes here, the firearms talk? We're going to talk about guns. It is student of the gun. But we're not going to talk about people taking away guns and ninnies and crybabies being afraid of guns. But we're going to talk about some fun gun stuff.
Yeah, we came in with the first hour, and that was pretty much all bad news. So we're going to bring in the second hour with some good news.
Well, you need to be aware of that stuff so you can fight against it, hopefully. Well, nobody fights anymore. Everyone just gets along and wants to be reasonable and wants to be tolerant and wants to be inclusive until you're reasonable your head right off your shoulders, or you're tolerant, tolerate your own head off your shoulders. But what do we do this week? Gun-related. You guys know that well, you should know, and if you don't, shame on you, but the Student of the Gun mobile app, it's free. You can download it on your iPhone. You can download it on your Android phone. Go to Google Play, type in Student of the Gun, and hit download. But the reason that the Student of the Gun mobile app is free for you doesn't even cost you 99 cents. It costs you nothing. And we did that because our friends at Century Arms sponsored the mobile app. They are the official sponsor of the Student of the Gun mobile app. And so you're thinking to yourself, you're like, well, Century Arms, don't they just import cheap SKSs and Romanian AKs and stuff, and that's all they have? Well, no, not really. They have a wide variety in their catalog. Matter of fact, their catalog is sometimes it's all over the place. I mean, they've got some Italian 6-shooter cowboy guns and lever actions, and then they've got, Serbian stuff, and they've got made in the USA stuff. And we talked about their made in the USA AKs and what have you. But what we got this week is what do we have this year? This week, I picked up a pistol from Century. It's called the TP9SA, and SA stands for single action. If you're a hip student of the gun, if you're a gun culture kind of person, you're probably aware of the Canik or TP9 pistol that's made in Turkey, imported and distributed by Century Arms. And the fact that they're really, really, really inexpensive. The TP9, it looks essentially, it's a rip-off clone of the P99, which was a rip-off clone, which was also the SW99. So there was a Walther P99. Then there was a Smith & Wesson SW99, which were essentially the same guns. Then you had a Canik TP9, which was a ripoff or a clone of those guns. And when we did the Patriot Arsenal on a budget, if you guys haven't read the Patriot Arsenal on a budget or watched it on TV, shame on you, but you can fix yourself eventually. The TP9 original one, the Canik, was, I think, they were selling them for some kind of insane price, like $339 or something. And this isn't for a pocket .380. This is a full-size 9mm pistol. And we've actually had, Jared and I, we've had one of the original TP9 pistols in our hot little hands for a couple of years now. We've shot, I don't know, maybe 1,000, 1,500 rounds through it. Haven't had any problems with the gun. Well, apparently some of you guys out there didn't like the trigger system for whatever reason. And I talked to somebody this week, and they're like, oh, no, the TP9 I had, the trigger was hard. It was real difficult to shoot. And I was like, well, that's weird because ours wasn't. But whatever. So here's what they did. They kind of went back to the drawing board, and they took the TP9 and they redesigned it. And they redesigned the trigger. So now instead of being the original P99, SW99 double action to single action trigger, what they did is they made it a single action only trigger, but it's not like a single action Colt. It's not like a 1911. It's not like a Tokarov. It's not like a high power. It's a striker fired gun. So when, and I know all you G-Lock fans, you're like, it's not a single action, it's a safe action. It's the Glock safe action. Okay, whatever. The fact is with the striker-fired gun, the firing mechanism or the firing pin is preloaded. When you rack the slide, it cocks the firing pin, but it doesn't cock it 100%. What it does is it preloads it, and then when you press the trigger, it finishes the cocking, and it releases it. Okay, so is it a strict single action like your favorite 1873 Colt? No. Is it a single action like a high power? No. But does it have a lighter trigger press or a smoother trigger press than, some of your older guns? Yes, it does. So the new TP9SA, essentially it has a trigger that is like a Glock trigger, like an M&P trigger, like an XDM trigger, and so forth. That's what the trigger is like. It only has one single trigger press. They redesigned the frame. The frame looks different than the old frame does, or did. And I got one of them this week. It showed up. These guns have just recently arrived on our shores. And I went out to the range, and I started working with the gun. And I got probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 200 to 300 rounds through it one afternoon. And I got to tell you, folks, I'm pretty impressed. I really am. We had zero malfunctions with the gun itself. I was out there on my buddy Mike's range, and it's here in southern Mississippi. Well, the ground on the range is sand. And what happens is, you have a sand base that you're walking around on, and you walk around on it. And essentially, when it gets super dry, it becomes kind of like that talcum powder, really super fine southern sand. And when I would, do magazine changes and what have you, I was dumping the empty mag into the ground, racking the slide, moving on, driving. Well, I guess about 100-plus rounds into it, I'd drop the empty magazines, on the ground several times. And some of that fine talcum powder, gritty sand got inside of the magazines. And I guess it was in the 100 to 150 round mark that the followers were starting to drag inside the magazines, and it wasn't feeding properly. Go ahead.
Oh, it's inside the magazine.
It's inside the magazine. And you're like, well, see, there's a flaw in the system. Brothers and sisters, I don't care what name is on your pistol. If you dump the magazines into talcum powder, like really fine, gritty sand, or, eventually they're going to get nasty. And you say, well, how do you fix that? Well, you take the base plate off the magazine, you pull out the springs and the follower, you take that cool little brush that you get. They give you a fuzzy bore brush, and you run the bore brush in and out of the magazine a few times, put it back together, and guess what? It works again. I know, it's crazy. It's crazy talk. But that was the only issue I had, was after, dropping the magazines in the sand a few times, they got some sand inside them, they got gritty, and they weren't feeding as well as they should. And that was it. The gun was very, very accurate. I mean, everyone's always talking about accuracy. Oh, how accurate is it? How accurate is it? Well, let me tell you what. The gun itself, mechanically, is probably more accurate than 99% of the people that will actually wrap their paws around the gun. It'll put the bullets where they need to be. So we just started working with that. That was kind of a fun thing that we did this week. And you say, well, okay, Paul, cool. These new TP9 SAs, are they the same price as the original one? No. They've increased the price. When I went on the website, they said that they had a spec sheet up, and the spec for this one is manufacturer's suggested retail price $399. That's still, we're talking a full-size gun. We're talking a gun that is basically the size of a G17 or an M&P 9. It holds, and the magazines hold technically 18 rounds, but here's the truth of the matter. If you stuff 18 rounds into the magazine, it bottoms out the follower, and when you try and put it in the gun on a closed slide, often it won't seat all the way, or you have a difficult time seating it. So I basically stopped doing that. I just put 17 rounds in it and call it good. And if you really, really, really want to stuff the 18th, I mean, you can stuff the 18th round in there. You can do it, like I said, but it just bottoms the follower out and it compresses the spring all the way down. You've got no play left. But $399 MSRP, well, you guys should know how MSRP goes. When you go into your local gun shop, is it going to be $399? Probably not. Your local guy is probably going to discount it $25, $30 maybe. So I would say the on-the-street price for this gun is going to be around $360 to $370 if I had to guess. That's still a lot of gun. I mean, and this is a brand new gun. This isn't a surplus gun. It's a brand new in-the-box gun. It comes with basically a holster that was ripped off from another holster design, because apparently in Turkey the copyright laws aren't really very strict. But it comes with a holster. It comes with 2 magazines. It comes with a little cleaning brush. It comes with a magazine loading tool, which you may or may not use, and the gun itself in a hard case. But it's a lot of gun for $375, let's say. So check it out. You know, is it perfect? And you say, well, screw that, Paul. I got lots of money. I got $800 to spend on a gun. Dude, drive on. But when we talk about Patriot Arsenal on a budget, that may be something that a lot of you guys are looking at. And we're not done testing this gun yet. We're going to keep on testing it. But like I said, 200 to 300 rounds into it, we had absolutely zero malfunctions with the gun. And I will tell you this, I deliberately took out the steel-cased, Wolf-type ammo, Tula Wolf ammo. I took out the aluminum-cased Federal ammo, which is basically, it's a CCI Blazer. And then, of course, we took out higher quality brass-cased ammo, like the jacketed hollow point ammunition from Black Hills, and then we had some Winchester USA white box stuff thrown in there. So steel cases, aluminum cases, brass cases, it all fed, it all cycled, no problem, no sweat out of that gun. All right, talking about guns, well, if you've got a gun, then Brownells has something for you. And we talked about this a little bit last week, and I actually teased you with it. But the month of November is essentially, it's Black Rifle Month at Brownells. Get back in black rifle, that is, with Brownells in November. Each week, Brownells is offering incredible pricing on AR-15 parts and accessories. Some complete unassembled AR-15 uppers are selling for as low as $289. If that's not enough, Brownells is blowing out Bushmaster strip lowers for $49.99. We told you about it last week. That's right, $49.99. Normally priced at $169. That's 70% off, folks. Check out the Back in Black rifle event. Visit Brownells.com. Get there before November 1st. And what did we tell you?
December 1st. It's already November 1st.
I said November 1st?
Yeah.
Oh, well, shame on me.
There's proof in the audio.
Shut up. Okay, so, check it out before December 1st. And we told you last week, shut up over there on the other side of the glass. I'll come through that glass and you'll be sorry.
I don't think you'll do it.
Oh. Yeah, if you guys are interested in black rifle stuff, this is the time. Don't wait. I'm telling you, if you wait until Bloomberg or Feinstein or one of these other puke faces comes out with the next big anti-gun push, it's going to be too late. So now is the time. What else we want to talk about? Well, obviously we want to acknowledge our buddies over at SWAT Fuel. When you go to SWATfuel.com and you make your order, you want to use the Student of the Gun promo code. It's SOTG 2014. And kind of a really cool thing, SWAT Fuel, they came on with us on the radio program, which you obviously know because you're listening to me right now. And you've been listening for a while, I hope. But SWAT Fuel actually is expanding their support of Student of the Gun. We're going to be featuring SWAT Fuel stuff on studentofthegun.com. and, of course, the TV show and upcoming episodes. And our buddy Dr. Dan is going to come down, talk to Dr. Dan last week, and he's going to come down and visit with us. He's going to show us a super new ninja-type tourniquet that could save your life or the life of somebody else that you actually care about. So that's coming up in the new season of Student of the Gun TV. I want to make sure that we acknowledge our buddies XS Sights, the fastest sights in any light, and Colt at Colt.com, makers of the LE901. All right, Jared, what do we want to talk about next?
Let's go ahead and talk about Mr. Ronald Reagan and how he predicted he predicted what's happening right now 50 years ago.
Yeah, the kind of the theme, the main theme of part 2 here is freedom lessons from the past. And the great thing about the United States of America is we don't have to reinvent the wheel here. We don't have to rewrite the playbook. The instructions, the instructions for individual liberty and national freedom, they've already been written. We just need to acknowledge the lessons from the past, and we need to study them. And that's when I was in high school, junior high, high school, so forth, the classes that I excelled in were social studies type classes. History, specifically history, U.S. government, and so forth. Those were the classes that I excelled in, believe it or not. But, folks, the whole axiom about those who ignore the past are doomed to repeat it, it's not a joke. We're supposed to learn lessons from the past. And when we fail to learn those lessons and when we ignore those, that's when we do it all over again. Now, Jared's got some audio queued up for us here. I'm going to set it up real quick. This is from actually the early days of television. It was from the 1960s, and it says 50 years ago, which would be, let me see, I know you went to public school in the last 20 years, but if you take 2014 and you subtract 50 from it, what do you get, Jared? You get 1964, is that correct?
Hold on, let me count my fingers.
He's counting. Don't take your shoes off. So
yeah, I think that's right.
So, and Reagan wasn't actually running. He gave this speech in support of Barry Goldwater, and I know a lot of you guys are like, "What? Who is that? Does he sell cars? Is he a used car salesman?" Barry Goldwater? No. Goldwater was a candidate for the presidency of the United States. But let's listen to what Ronald Reagan, before he became President Ronald Reagan, let's listen to what he had to say.
This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The euphemism is...
Wow. In 1964, Reagan pointed that out. Are we going to, are we going to give up and abandon the American Revolution and admit that a liberal elite, that elitist in the national capital? Dude, I'm tongue-tied.
Drink some coffee.
No, I'm tongue-tied because...
is this blowing your mind?
It's blowing my mind. Really, seriously, ask yourself that. How many of your neighbors constantly say the phrase, they need to do something about that, or the government needs to do something about that, or there needs to be a law, blah, 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 blah? Why don't you take care of your own self? Why don't you take care of your family? Take care of your community? No. It's not my responsibility. It's the government's responsibility. We cannot survive as a nation with that mentality. At least not the nation that is current, that we founded 200 plus years ago. Now we can have, a geographic area with loose borders filled with slaves and peasants. We can do that. And that's where we're headed right now. If you don't understand that, if you're not paying attention, I don't know what the heck you've been doing. But we have so-called states in the United States of America within our borders that have essentially become slave states. They're nanny states. Everything comes from the central capital. You know, it's like the what do you call it? The Hunger Games. The capitals rule everything, and the peasants are out there, and they need to get the coal out of the ground and cut down the trees and harvest the food so that the people in the capitals can be fat and happy. And as spooky and as eerie as it is, it's been pointed out by several other people, besides me, Rush Limbaugh, Glenn Beck, Hannity, you name it, that in Washington, D.C., the people who live in D.C. for the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, or specifically the last 5 or 6, they don't see an economic crisis. There is no economic crisis in Washington, D.C. They don't understand what you peasants are talking about, why you tax slaves are out there complaining, because that city is fat and happy on your money. They're using your money and your neighbor's money, and when they run out of your money and they run out of your neighbor's money, they just print more money and borrow more money, but they don't borrow it on their account. Like, well, the government borrowed the money and the government has to pay it back. Hey, folks, does the government make money? Do they produce a product? Do they turn a profit? No. Yeah, they're living fat and happy in the Capitol, and they're writing IOUs, but it's not their name on the bottom of the IOU. It's yours. It's your children's names. It's your grandchildren's names that are written on those IOUs, on those empty bank accounts where we just keep borrowing and borrowing and borrowing. It's not their name. It's not someone else. It's you. Jared, do me a favor. Cue that up. That was a short clip. Cue it up one more time. Play that one more time for us. I just threw him a curveball. He's over there doing stuff. But I want to listen to that one more time. It's important enough that I really feel like everyone should.
This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
Folks, I got a confession. When Ronald Reagan passed away, when Ronald Reagan died, Ronald Reagan was my first commander-in-chief. Ronald Reagan was the president of the United States of America when I enlisted in the United States Marine Corps. I was alive during the Reagan years. I was disgusted by the way he was treated by the elitist puke faces in the media and the Hollywood puke face elitists. It was shameful. It's disgusting the way they treated that man, because that man loved this nation. And if you're a young puppy out there, if you're under the age of 30, you probably don't remember. But when Reagan passed in 2004, I sat in front of the television and watched the memorial service. I watched the funeral procession through D.C., and I cried like a baby. I'm not even going to lie to you. I did. I cried like a baby. Ronald Reagan was the last president that had some guts. Sorry, R's and D's for the last 20 years. I'm sorry. But there has not been a president since Reagan that was more willing to do what was absolutely correct for the nation based upon the founding documents, not upon what was popular, not based upon what was going to get him poll numbers, but based upon Reagan knew the Constitution. He knew about the founding. Some of you guys don't realize this, but Ronald Reagan had such reverence for the office of president, for the White House, for the Oval Office, that he wouldn't even take his sport coat or his jacket, his suit jacket, off when he was inside of the Oval Office. He didn't, and he certainly didn't put his feet up on the desk like some kind of lazy scumbag. Do I need to tell you who that is? But, folks, we need to learn the lessons from the past. We don't have to rewrite the playbook. It was written for us. You just need to acknowledge it and go back and educate yourselves. And that's something that we do actually during the bonus hour every week. If you haven't been paying attention, or if you're not a part of the bonus hour, that's cool. You're an American. You don't have to do it. But during the bonus hour each week for the last 2 months or so, we have a little section called the Patriot Bookshelf, where I give out recommended reading, and we put links in the notes there, so you guys can just hyperlink to them and order them if you want to off of Amazon or wherever. But some of the books that I think you should read, and some of the ones that we've actually recommended during the bonus hour, is the book 1776, the book Founding Brothers. There's another book. It's really hard to find, but it's worth its weight in gold. And if you could find it, get your hands on a copy of it immediately. It's called The Political Thought of the American Revolution. There's another one called Paul Revere's Ride. I'm rereading right now the book Paul Revere's Ride. I read it previously last year, and I'm rereading it now because of the lessons in it. They're so valuable to us. But you need to educate yourself. And if you're exercising your body, that's great, but you need to exercise your brain as well. And watching YouTube videos is not brain exercise. Sorry. It may be entertainment. It may give you some information. But watching YouTube videos is not brain exercise. Reading is brain exercise, and you need to take some time and read. Jared, are we ready to move on to our Go Team moment?
Yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the, which one is it? Oh, we were going to cover this last hour, but we didn't get to it. So
but we're going to give this kid, we're going to go ahead and give him a Go Team moment. So, kid, this one's for you.
That's why I say, hey man, nice shot.
All right, thanks, Filter, for the Go Team moment, nice shot theme song here. And this story comes to us from the Journal News, journalnews.com. Now, Jared, is this an Ohio story? Because it's got an ad in it for someplace in Vandalia, Ohio. I think it might actually. It says Riley Township.
I don't know where.
Butler County. Oh, Butler County is in Ohio. There we go.
I don't know where that ad is.
Yeah, it's at the top there, but it says it's from thejournalnews.com, and it says a burglary suspect is behind bars after allegedly breaking into 2 homes Thursday, escaping from a police cruiser. Oh, come on now. Then being stopped by a teen armed with a gun. About 7:30 a.m. Thursday, a man broke into a residence on Bunker Hill Woods Road in Riley Township, according to the Butler County Sheriff's Office. The suspect fled after being confronted by the homeowner. Deputies spotted a man matching the clothing description and detained him in a police cruiser. While deputies were attempting to contact the homeowner to determine if this was the subject, the man suspect who broke into the house, the man was able to squeeze through a narrow opening in the screen separating the front from the back seats of the cruiser. Oh, my Lord, dudes. The suspect then ran into a nearby cornfield. Butler County Sheriff's helicopter and canine units began searching for the man. During that time, the suspect allegedly broke into another home on DeCamp Road, and this time was confronted by a 15-year-old armed with a gun who ordered him out of the residence.
Maybe the 15-year-old was getting ready to go to homecoming.
Yeah, maybe he was. The description, good call, from the teen matched the description of the burglar suspect, was located behind a barn between Bunker Hill Woods and DeCamp, was arrested and charged with 2 counts of aggravated burglary. So go team, kid, 15-year-old armed with a gun. Good thing he wasn't in Massachusetts. They would have freaked. Well, if he was anywhere else, if he was in a slave state, he wouldn't be allowed to have access to that gun because that would be a crime, and we can't allow that because teenagers can't make good decisions. Isn't that right, Jared?
Yeah, they have to have people do it for them.
We have to hide guns from teenagers because they can't make good decisions. It's funny how we're going to treat teenagers like innocent little puppies, like little angelic puppies, until they turn 18, and then they instantly become responsible adults. Right? Is that how that works? Not necessarily. But the kid didn't shoot the guy, so it wasn't really a nice shot. But we thought we would give him a go team moment. So go team, kid, out there in Ohio. It's nice to have a good story coming out of Ohio because we've had so much like lunacy and vagination coming out of Ohio here lately that we're pretty happy to report to you a good moment.
This hour is chocked full of audio. Did you know that?
Yeah, it is chock full of audio because we're going to move from Ohio. We're going to point the compass north, and we're going to head up to Ottawa. And we're going to talk about some Canadian slow learners. But we don't want to talk about Canada unless we give you our official Canada Report update theme. Well, thank you, Geddy Lee and Bob and Doug McKenzie, for giving us our Canadian theme song. And, take off, hosers? Well, unless you've been living in a cave for the last couple of weeks, you should know what happened up there in Canada. They had 2 terrorist attacks by pro-ISIS, pro-Islamic terrorists. But that's no big deal. We don't need to worry about that. We're not at war with Islam and yada, 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 and stupid crap. But we pointed this out previously during a previous episode where we talked about little Canadian Johnny Jihad Pukeface who left Canada, went over to Syria, northern Iraq, and joined with the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, and Skyped himself a little interview. And in the interview, he said, "We have brothers, inshallah, la la la," all this jibber jabber, Haji's talk there. But he said, "We have brothers that are going to commit terrorist attacks in New York." And this guy was from Canada, right? And so what did we just have? We just had, they told us what they were going to do. This is the definition of insanity. When your enemy looks at you, tells you he's going to do something, then he does that thing, and you act surprised or you're not sure if that's actually what just happened. Well, they said they were going to do it. They did it, and they're still not getting it. Now, we kind of applauded the Prime Minister of Canada when they came out and they actually called what happened, the 2 attacks, one with a vehicle and one with a gun, but they called them terrorist attacks. We're like, okay, we have a terrorist attack in New York City, and they're not really sure if we're going to call it that, or it may just be an isolated incident by one single deranged person. We don't want to use the T word, and we don't want to use the I word, and blah, 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 blah. Well, so what do we got here? In the aftermath of the attacks in Ottawa, the story, this comes to us from the ottawacitizen.com/news/politics/war memorial guards to remain unarmed. What now? Yeah, the title of the story is War Memorial Guards to Remain Unarmed. Well, there's kind of a technical glitch right there. And we talked about this during the show about how the War Memorial Guards were standing there with rifles, but the rifles are empty. Okay, so they're props, essentially. They're stage props. They're not fighting tools because if you have a gun, it needs to have something else with it. You need to have ammunition in the gun or a nice, shiny bayonet sticking off the end of it. But let's go ahead and jump into the story right here. The National War Memorial's Honor Guard, they put another U in honor. They're so funny up there. Will be more closely monitored by police, but will remain unarmed, a move likely to provoke debate. Well, let's have a debate. Let's sit down and have a debate. After a gunman shot and killed one of the sentries this week. The Honor Guard was reinstated in an emotional ceremony Friday afternoon, 2 days after Corporal Nathan Cirillo, a reservist with the Argyll and Southern Highlanders, was gunned down while standing guard in front of the monument. And we brought this up. We asked the question, how is it that you can, we understand that, a deliberate murder, it's kind of hard to see that coming and what have you, but how is it that there were multiple soldiers around and nobody could get a bead on this dude and stop him? Well, that happens because we can't let soldiers have loaded guns because that's scary. Cirillo and his fellow guard at the time, Corporal Brandon Stevenson, were carrying unloaded rifles in their roles as ceremonial guards. Now, I know some of you guys are going to write me, they're like, Paul, it's no different than America. Yeah, I got that. Calm down. Sit down. I know you're jumping around, you're fidgeting in your seat. Calm down. Prime Minister Stephen Harper and Defense Chief General Tom Lawson were on hand for the ceremony, yada, yada, yada. The military has indicated that it would only post sentries once their security was assured, but some were upset that the honor guard wasn't automatically reinstated earlier. Blah, blah, blah. We're not sure if we want to put soldiers out there. Now, here we go. This is where it gets interesting. It says, among the people who were concerned was conservative MP, not a military police, but member of parliament, John Williamson, who tweeted his, that's how we do things today, we tweet things, tweeted his dismay over military personnel being restricted in where they can wear their uniforms and over a lack of guards at the memorial Friday morning. He tweeted that Lawson's decision not to post honor guards was misguided. These guards should be armed, not removed. Well, whoa, this guy actually thinks that soldiers should be allowed to carry loaded guns? What is he, crazy? Can't let soldiers carrying loaded guns? Oh, it's insanity. Blah, blah, blah. The honor guard was reinstated, yada, 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 yada. It says the Canadian, here we go, we got another quote. And it says the Canadian Armed Forces remain undeterred in paying tribute to the nation's fallen, including Corporal Cirillo and Warrant Officer Vincent, he added. Who added this? Oh, the national spokesman. And continue resolutely to show dignity and respect to the National War Memorial. Okay, well, that's all great and everything.
It's about dignity. It's
That's
about
right.
respect.
It's about dignity. It's about respect. Says, however, not everyone thinks that they should have guns. What? Another conservative MP, Aaron O'Toole, a former Air Force officer, said the sentries aren't actually guarding the war memorial or the tomb of the unknown soldier from threats. It's meant as a show of respect for the fallen. It's their presence that matters, and I don't think they need to be armed, said Aaron O'Toole.
His last name fits him very well.
It might be a chick, dude. It's E-R-I-N.
Oh, Aaron.
Yeah,
E-R-I-N.
not
Okay.
Aaron with an A. It's Aaron, E-R-I-N.
Well, there you go.
Well, that's what happens when you ask women questions like that. Ooh! Go ahead.
Oh, here comes the letters.
There you go. Get on your keyboard.
And you know what? None of them are going to be from women.
No, it'll be from dudes. From liberal foreign affairs critic Marc Greneau, a former naval officer, said the sentries are totally exposed and that some Canadians will undoubtedly question the wisdom of leaving them unarmed. Aha. Here's the quote. But if they should be armed, it's because you're saying somebody is going to come out and take a shot at them. Hang on.
Isn't that what just happened?
Hang on a second. I'm gonna reread that to make sure that I'm not hallucinating here. Okay, Marc Greneau, a former naval officer. Okay, I don't know what that means, but go ahead. Jimmy Carter was a former naval officer. Look what that got us. But if they should be armed, it's because you're saying someone is going to come out and take a shot at them? Question mark, he said. What does that imply for our society? Question mark.
I agree with this next sentence.
If you're going to start arming them, you might as well start arming everybody. Duh. So, Marc Greneau, liberal foreign affairs critic and former naval officer, is against arming the sentries because what are you trying to say? What, Jared, what does that sound like? Does that sound exactly like, well, you carry a gun? Well, what do you think's going to happen? Why are you doing that?
Well, what I think is going to happen is if I'm attacked, then I'm going to defend myself. That's what's going to happen.
Well, what does that imply for our society?
That we have prepared people?
So here's what
know.
you have. You've got conservative MP Aaron O'Toole and liberal foreign affairs critic Marc Greneau, who really are concerned with the idea of allowing soldiers to carry loaded guns, loaded rifles. What? Because what does it say about our society? I don't know, dork. Maybe it says that your society is under attack. Maybe the whole amiable and affable defense isn't working out for you. We're Canada. We don't offend anyone. Nobody would want to harm us.
So this dude or chick, is the chick says that same thing?
Yeah.
Or is that from Mark?
Well, the chick, we're assuming it's a chick, and if it's not a chick, it's probably a eunuch. But says it's their presence that matters, and I don't think that they need to be armed.
Yeah, but Mark is the one that said that. What
You
does
might
that
as well
imply?
arm everybody.
Yeah. Okay, so
If you're going to do that, you might as well just let everybody carry guns.
so the
Crazy people.
liberal foreign affairs critic Mark blah, 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 says that, and basically what he's saying is that he wants to hide the fact that evil exists. Everybody knows that evil exists, but he wants to hide that from.
He doesn't want
the
to acknowledge
citizens.
it.
Yeah,
What? Just because 2 Islamic terrorists attacked members of the military and killed them last week, what, you just think they should automatically have guns and be able to defend themselves? Duh. Well, and we posted the story online on our social media this week, and people jumped in and they're like, it's no different than America, Paul. And you know what? You're absolutely right. And what are we going to do about it? Nothing.
see, we can do something about it.
Well,
they're
I mean-
up there, they're just pretty much screwed, I guess. Huh?
Well, we're not willing to. We had 2 Fort Hoods, and they still won't let soldiers have guns. They won't let them carry guns. They're thinking about it. They're in the process of planning a strategy that possibly may, in the future, allow soldiers to be armed.
But if it saves one soldier's life,
No. Here's what you're missing. And folks, maybe I should change the title of this. Nah, I won't. But I'm going to write a story. Dead soldiers make good headlines. Never forget that. Dead soldiers make good headlines.
that's like it's the same thing with police officers.
Yep. Remember what I told you? I told you guys a story about the chief of police that and the police department who forbid off-duty officers from carrying guns. They weren't allowed to carry off-duty. And you're like, well, why would that? That's craziness. Dude, dead soldiers and dead police officers make good headlines. They help you with your agenda. If you have an anti-gun agenda, dead soldiers don't really bother your anti-gun agenda. So keep that in mind. All right, folks. Jared's giving me the. Did you just give me the wrap it up finger?
Yeah, that was the wrap it up finger. We're over 43 minutes now.
All right, I got the wrap it up finger. Don't forget to listen to the bonus hour. Lots of good stuff, big boy stuff during the bonus hour, and we get to attack some of these topics a little bit more fiercely than we do during the public hour. So if you want to check that out, we have the Patriot Bookshelf. We have the Get to Know Paul and Jared a little bit better, ask questions. You can watch Student of the Gun TV each and every week on Dish Network, channel 266. That's 9 o'clock Eastern Time. Or you can watch us on Roku, Apple TV, or Comcast. Download the Student of the Gun mobile app. You know you want to. You should just go ahead and do it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, thank you for joining us yet again for Student of the Gun Radio. I am your host, Professor Paul Markle. Jared is over on the other side, and he started the wrap-up music.
It's rapping. We're rapping.
We're rapping, so we're wrapping it up. Remember, you are a beginner once, but you should indeed be a student for life.